All right, I think let's begin, and then the latecomers can also join whenever. Welcome, everyone. Do you hear me and see me well? Please text in the chat if everything works properly, just to make sure. Great, great. I received some feedbacks. Let us know in the chat if something's not working or you encounter any technical issues. So welcome to the webinar, and we're thrilled to have you join us today. We'll talk about some very cool topics during this 1 hour. My name is Esther Toth, and I'm the project manager of our academy here at Andagon, and I'll be your host for this session. This is the second session of a series of webinars that we're launching now. So after the webinar, if you feel like you'd like to check out more of our content, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, where we post updates and insights mostly about QA and software testing. If you prefer the email channel and would like to stay up to date with training courses that will launch in the future, you'll also have a chance to sign up for our newsletter after the webinar. Just to give you a little overview of what to expect, the presentation will approximately take 45 minutes, and then we'll have a 15-minute Q&A session where you can ask our presenter about anything in the presentation. And feel free to ask any questions during the presentation itself. I try to incorporate them as much as I can. If I forget something, feel free to text again, and I'll try to ask our presenter. So we're really excited to have QA expert Dejvis Muka with us, sharing his thoughts today. With over 6 years of experience in software quality assurance and as an ISTQB certified trainer and mentor, Dejvis is passionate about advancing software quality through innovative testing approaches. But he'll share more about himself shortly. So without further ado, let me pass the stage to Dejvis.
Thank you, Esther. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today in this session. It will be a quick and a cool one related to test automation engineering. Firstly, let me know if you can all see my screen and presentation. Okay, so we are good to go. A little bit about what we are going to discuss today. We're going to discuss, of course, what is test automation and why is it important. Nowadays, we listen a lot about this topic, so I want to explain more about what is test automation and the importance of it. It's very important also how to transition from manual testing to automation one, so we can let's say have a smooth transition, skills you need as a test automation engineer, how to choose the right tools and frameworks, because at the beginning it's very important to select the right tools and to make sure that you have a good start. Also, some challenges, myths, and limitation of automation. Automation, it's popular nowadays, but it's not the solution of every problem. So it's very important to address those topics as well. Also, how to build a beginner learning roadmap for test automation. A little bit about me. As Esther mentioned, I have around 6 years of experience in software quality assurance field, mostly focused on test automation. Now I'm working for Nuvolar Works as a QA automation engineer, which is a company based in Barcelona. I am ICQB certified in foundation level, advanced level of test automation, also in test automation strategy. Also, I'm an exam reviewer for the exams related to test automation engineering. I'm a Brightus ambassador as well, also trainer for more than 2 years now in different topics of quality assurance. I have hands-on experience in different industries like banking, retailing, and aviation. So let's start with the first topic. What is test automation? By definition, when we talk about test automation, we say that it's the process of using software tools to execute predefined test cases, replacing manual effort. If you imagine a tester work, you'd say that someone that press buttons, that is all the time playing with the software, trying different different scenarios. And you have to understand that this work is not just done once, right? So you have to do it for every release. You have to test the test cases multiple times, and imagine doing this thing over and over and over. And at the other, let's say, imagine by if we have a tool that automate all this stuff, and you can do it by the use of test automation. Why is test automation important, and what are some of the benefits? The first thing is that we can increase test coverage. By automating some of our tests, we can focus more of our effort in other things on software testing, but also we can test for every release a great number of test cases because they are automated, so we don't need time to perform them. Of course, this means that we will have faster feedback cycles. So if you just need the feedback of what's the state of the software after the changes we have done, we execute the test cases and we get a very good report about how is the condition of the software. Also, it's reduced the human error because at the end of the day, we are humans. We cannot catch all the bugs of even if it's the greatest tester of the world. Of course, it's difficult to catch everything. So by using those kind of tools, it's code, it's machine. So the human error aspect is eliminated, let's say. Also, we have cost efficiency in the long run, and I will present a little bit later about the return on investment on this topic because um, we, let's say, earn a lot from test automation, especially in the projects that will last for a long time. So anyway, I will dive more in this topic later. Why is test automation important? As I mentioned, it's a efficiency gain because we have faster test execution and very good reporting. In manual testing, we'll do the reporting on our own. We have to, log every test case, if it's passed, if it's failed, um, the result, and then we have to create a report on our own. With the day tools, using test automation, we can have a very good reporting. So we execute the test cases, also we get the report. It's very important the consistency because we can execute our test cases several times in different environments, and we can have reproducible result across them. Scalability, of course, it's one topic. We can execute extensive and complex test cases. And what is important as well is also the competitive edge because today in the world of software, everything moves so fast. And if you are able to deliver faster because you can test your software faster. Let's say you have test automation, so you don't have to test everything in regression manually. It's very important to the market and to the to make the difference when it comes to business. Here is an example of what I mentioned about the return on investment on test automation. So just to, let's say, try to understand how much can test automation help. Of course, if it's used in the right way. We have this scenario when we have a test suite of 50 test cases. The manual effort would be 5 hours for each execution. So for each execution of the Ultra suite, we spent 5 hours. The automation setup would be 30 hours. Actually, it's a mistake by me because in the table is 100, so consider this 100 because I have changed it, sorry. The test execution will be 100 time. We will execute this test suite 100 time, and the cost is $25 per hour. It's the effort of, let's say, the tester of, uh, and in the table you can see all the factors, and for manual and automation testing. Firstly, we have the setup time that for manual testing we don't need any effort because you don't need anything to set up in terms of framework or infrastructure such as automation testing. So that would be $0. Uh, for automation testing, we have 100 hours, which is $2,500. Let's consider the execution cost for one cycle, for one execution, would be 5 hours for manual testing, which would be $125. And for test automation is 30 minutes. Actually, this is the time, let's say, when sometimes we investigate the test automation and sometimes we, let's say, maintain, because on its own, test automation can be executed on itself. Uh, so you don't need to, let's say, stay there when the tests are being executed. So this is a 30 minutes, which is 12, $12. And if we do the total execution cost, we'll multiply by 100 because we're executing it 100 times, and we'll go 12,000 for manual testing and only 1,250 for automation testing. If we add all this stuff, it's math. I don't want to bother you. The total is what you see. So it will be around 12,000 for manual testing and only 3,000 and 1,700 for automation testing. By here, we can calculate even the return on investment, which would be we will minus this value for manual testing minus the automation one, and we'll divide by the automation one. So here you can understand that if we will execute the test cases for a long time, such as here, 100 times, the cost with automation testing will be much lower. Although at the beginning we'll have some setup time that will be costly. Some, you will create the infrastructure and all the stuff. So at the beginning, the start looks a little bit, you're scared to start automation, but at the end, you will see that it will be the best at this case, at least. If you have any question, don't hesitate to ask me through the chat and I will address. Okay, a little bit about test automation architecture. This is a more advanced topic. This is from the ISTQB test automation advanced level. But just I wanted to, to create an idea of how it's created, the test automation architecture. And we have 4 layers, which are test generation, test definition, test execution, and test adaptation. Here is the system under test, which means it's the software that we are testing. That's what, when you see system under test, is the software that we're testing. It's connected with test management tool, with configuration management tool, and also with project management tool. And here we have the layers. So we have the first layer, which is the generation, which support creating automation test scripts and cases based on project requirements. Test definition, it's about defining the scope, objectives, and conditions for testing. Just keep in mind that we have those layers of also for different type of testing. So it's not that it's just for automation. Test execution, it's the one that we usually address with testing, that we execute the test, we try all the stuff. It's the process when we do our execution and we compare the actual result with the expected result. And also reporting is part of this field, of this layer. And test adoption, which is adjusting the test scripts for different environments or for changes in the applications. Now, how to transition from manual testing to automation. It's very important, this phase, but when we talk about transition, it's very important to understand that it's not that we will forget manual testing by approaching automation testing. Both of them are needed, and both of them it's better, to go together on this. So we, let's say, automate stuff so we can execute the test cases, and we have more time to focus in other aspects of software testing. So the idea is to start small and to identify repetitive tasks. It's important to find the test cases that are more time consuming. So we lose a lot of time by doing those test cases manually. So we want to get rid of them by doing them manually. So let's automate them so we earn time, because at the end, that's what we are trying to do. We want to save time. It's important to learn one application tool. There are several tools. Uh, I have mentioned here some open source tools that are free: Selenium, Playwright, or Cypress. We need some programming basics, especially for those open source tool. We have also some tools that are recording and playback, but to create some good frameworks, we need those kind of tools. Uh, we need experience in a programming language, Python, Java, JavaScript. Just when we talk about Cypress support only JavaScript. So if we want to work with Cypress, we have to know JavaScript at first. For the other tools, it's fine, whatever tool that um, it's better for us, for the project, for the people. Uh, this is what I mentioned, blend strategies, that we need to use both manual and automation testing together, and doesn't mean that if we start automation, everything is done on manual part. And it's very important also the pilot project that we select, because at first we want to make sure that the automation is, let's say, it's needed for that project and it's the right choice. So we start a project, a small one, and we see how are the results. So it's like a proof of concept. It's very important also to have some skills. And test automation nowadays, as I mentioned, it's a little bit cool, modern. So a lot of people want to move from manual testing to test automation, or people that are out of industry and want to learn how to be test automation engineers. So basically, those are the technical skills that you need. It's very important to know a programming language, as I mentioned before, to know automation tools. Here, I have mentioned also Appium. Appium is for mobile testing. Nowadays, a lot of applications are mobiles, and mobiles are, let's say, the most used device. So it's very important to have knowledge in mobile testing as well. Then you have to learn a little bit more advanced topics such as framework design, which is to build page object models, which are models of patterns of code that help us to create robust frameworks, and to create code that is efficient, and you don't have to change a lot of things if something is broken. Also, there are other models such as data-driven or hybrid frameworks that are a connection of, or let's say a combination of one or of two or more models. API testing is also nowadays very popular. Rest assured is a very good start. The REST protocol is easy, let's say. So by using tools as Postman, it's a good start to try to play with this field, and as I mentioned, is very popular as well. When we talk about CI/CD pipelines and version control system as well, they're a little bit more complex. They are needed as well in the industry, so we can provide this continuous integration and continuous delivery of our software. Also, the version control system, because we will not work alone, so we will need a version control system, so we can connect with our colleagues, and we, let's say, see each other code and make it work. So today we nowadays everyone uses the version control system, and it's very important to understand that the code of our test automation project is at the end is a software code. So it has to follow all the practices that software development actually follows. Let me know if you have any question. So uh, when we talk about non-technical skills, there are a little bit, seen as not important, not as important as the technical skills. But we should not forget that at the end, the test automation engineers are software testers, so they need to have all the let's say, skills of a tester, starting from analytic thinking, communication. It's very important to communicate in a professional way because our work consists in, checking the developer's work. So on those cases, it's a little bit difficult, to present the result and um, to let's say evaluate of what has to be improved. But still, this is our job, so we have to do it in a professional way and um, to articulate them clearly. It's very important to collaborate, especially in today's um, projects that we follow child, so the roles are a little bit, together. We don't have separate roles anymore. So collaboration is very important as well. Attention to detail. As tester, we have, to try to check almost everything and to make sure that everything works. Adaptability, because we need to learn tools, frameworks for different type of testing that we're going to do. We may do API testing, mobile testing, web automation testing, performance testing. So we are like all the time trying to learn new things and continuous learning, of course, because nowadays everything moves so fast, so you have to catch up with what's new, let's say. Okay, we mentioned some of the benefits and why is test automation good, how to be a test automation, but it's very important to understand as well that we have some challenges after test automation, and we have to know it before we build our test automation strategies so we can mitigate the risk and uh, we can have a successful project. The first one is the initial investment. I mentioned it when I showed this table to you that we have a setup time, an effort, which is money at the end of the day. So this is the first um let's say, challenge of test automation, the maintenance, because it's not that we created the tests and we are done. We have to, improve them. We have to fix them time by time. So this is time consuming as well. Tool compatibility, this is a problem as well because it's not that we have a magic tool that for all type of testing we can use it. So we sometimes we need a lot of tools to fulfill our needs. The learning curve, also we have to, the tester have to learn new technologies all the time, new programming language depending on the project. Resource allocation, because at the other side we have to sometimes tester have to do manual and automation testing at the same time, which means that it's needed a balance between both of them. Also, false positive and negatives. When we talk about false positives, we talk about the test cases that are supposed to fail but actually pass, and false negative is the test cases that are supposed to pass but they're actually failing, which means that we have a wrong result. And this is we see those in our daily life very frequently, so we have to debug all the stuff and we have to go through it. So it's, let's say, for sure a challenge of test automation. Also, we have some limitations, starting from exploratory testing, which is type of test that, let's say, a tester goes and play with the application, try to learn it. This requires human interaction, and test automation cannot replace it. Uh, Also, for dynamic applications that change very frequently, test automation, you have to fix all the time what we call locators, which means that after a change, you have to fix that test case and so on, which makes it very difficult to handle and the maintenance cost very high. Uh, High upfront effort is what we mentioned in the previous slide. It's a limitation as well. It requires domain knowledge because not all the testers no, this has to be with lack of contextual understanding without human oversight. Is connected with the first one, exploratory testing, that at the end is just a machine, so we don't expect the same interaction as a human. Also, test cases can sometimes fail in different environments that require some mitigation and some research. So now we do a short, let's say, quiz. If it's, I will present to you some sentences, and I want you to answer if it's a myth or reality. You can use the chat here on Teams, and let me know about your guesses, and we'll discuss together. So the first sentence is that automation replaced manual testers entirely. It's a myth or a fact? Okay, so almost everyone is saying it's a myth. And actually it is because, as I mentioned, automation complements but doesn't replace manual testing. So we need to find a balance between both of them. The second is 100% test automation is achievable. Do you think it's a myth or it's reality? Okay, yeah. It's a myth. The first thing that why it's a myth is because some kind of tests are not automatable because exploratory and usability testing cannot be uh, cannot be automated. But even manual testing is not 100% achievable. You cannot test everything, so you cannot test everything even in manual side, and of course you cannot automate everything. So it's for sure a myth. Let's continue with the third. Automated testing improves test coverage. It's a myth or a reality? Okay, very good. Yeah, it's reality. With automation, we can run more tests in less time, which means that we have more time to enhance coverage, and uh, it's real. And the last one, automation requires no human intervention after the setup. Is this a myth or it's real? Can someone also elaborate why this one is a myth using the chat? Yeah, so very good. It's actually related to maintenance. We cannot consider no human interaction because maintenance is needed and you have to do regular updates and you have to do checks. So very good. It was very easy to you. So maybe I should have done them a little bit more tricky. Okay, so let's talk a little bit also about the future of test automation. When we talk about test automation is it's considered a new field, so it's not that old. When we talk about selenium, it was created this century, which means around, I think, 20 years, a little bit more ago. But still, the trends of AI, of course, have uh, let's say we are working with AI on this field as well. So that's why I wanted to give you some example of how AI is improving test automation and how AI is supporting, let's say, our work. The first would be that we have test script generation. With AI tools, we are able to create test cases based on application behavior and user flows. This is used also for other for developers as well, not just for testers, that we are able to have some script generation by using AI. Self-healing test. This is very interesting. As I mentioned, we have a lot of cases when our tests may be broken, so there are changes in the application or data is outdated. So uh, we're working with AI and machine learning algorithms to detect changes in the application and fix the test scripts in an automatic way. Predictive analytic for bug detection. Uh, this is using again the machine learning algorithms by trying to predict which may be, let's say, the areas that contains most of the defects. Also, the smart test prioritization when AI determines which are the tests that are more critical and the test that has to be picked first, let's say. So here is a short roadmap. Maybe you can also screenshot it about, let's say, the flow of a test automation engineer, how to be a test automation engineer. The first step is very important. People try to skip it and to underestimate it. It's about understanding the QA foundation. Let's not forget that at the end of the day, we are software testers. So it's very important to have very good foundation, and you can find a lot of resources online. ISTQB is one of them. Choose a programming language, whatever you find it. For example, for Java, you have a lot of resources on resources with Selenium, but for any of the language today, you have a lot of resources online, and you can select whatever you want. You can select for practice one of the tools that I mentioned here. You can select Selenium for web automation, Appium for mobile, Rest Assured for API testing. It's better it be a combination of all of them, but first, usually we start with web automation. So I would suggest Selenium or Playwright. Then after you know the language, one of the language, and um, you let's say learn one of the framework, it's better to master one of the patterns. It may be page object model or BTD, which is behavior driven with Cucumber. I will show later an example with Cucumber to you. Then we have the step number 5, which is more, let's say, advanced. It's related to DevOps tool, Jenkins, Docker, and Git is for version control. So let's say for with the first 4 steps, you learn how to create the framework, manipulate it, and with the 5th step, you are ready to actually work in a real life scenario because you need to learn those DevOps tools to learn to work in a real life scenario. Also, it's very important the last step, which is to stay current, to follow blogs, webinars, certification. Even me myself, I do a lot of certification all the time to let's say learn the new trends and to be updated with what's happening on this field. Here is a little bit about Selenium because I will show you an example with this. It's one of the most popular tools, and I think it's older compared. Yeah, actually, it's older compared to the competitors such as Playwright or Cypress. Selenium is, let's say, it contains the Selenium IDE, Selenium WebDriver, and Selenium Grid. Here I will talk only about the Selenium IDE and Selenium WebDriver. When we talk about Selenium IDE, it's a browser-based recorder for simple tests that just do recording. We'll see together now how it works. It doesn't require coding, so it's very good for beginners, but of course it have limited flexibility. So I will do a test. Can you see my screen at this application demo QA? So Selenium IDE comes as an extension, so uh, you can install it as a regular extension. I have clicked it and I will create a new project. I will call it demo test number 1. Okay, so here we have the test, and I will create a new test, which I will call it test demo QA test. Okay, so I am copying the URL. I am pasting here at playback URL, and I am starting recording. So that's what it's called, a play recording tool. Okay, so as you can see, it was opened. I am doing some interaction. I am clicking here. It was open a new tab. I am searching for testing here. Okay, they are shown some courses information. I'm clicking one. Okay, so I'm stopping the recording. As you can see here, here is the replay, let's say, of what I've been doing till now. So okay, we open this page, we do some interaction. I maximize the window, so this is the set windows time. I do some clicks, I do some type here because I search settings and so on. So this would be the case that let's say, recorded this, and now I am running the same test. As you can see, I am not touching my mouse. It will do the same stuff on its own. Okay, so so basically we did all the stuff. So imagine that we recorded it once, and you can execute the same test case over and over using the tool. Okay, this is good for beginning, but as I mentioned, to create robust frameworks, it's not a great idea. Also, you can even export what you have been doing uh, in code, so you can select the language. I am selecting the default one, which is Java Unit. I am saving it in this desktop, demo QA test, and I am opening it. Okay, so here you have all interactions that we did together. So we are here, we set the dimension, we did some clicking, some typing, and so on. So this is about Selenium ID. When we talk about Selenium WebDriver, uh, here we have, it's an API on its own, and we can programmatically, using code, we can test softwares using this WebDriver. It supports different browsers, which is very good. We can select whatever we want. And as I mentioned, IDE is better for quick tests and low complexity, but WebDriver is to create very good frameworks, projects, and so on. So just to show you a little bit, this is a very small project that I've created for this course. This is just one test case. This is the behavior driven that I mentioned in the slide with Cucumber. So we have a scenario that say that validate the number of jobs is correctly shown. If I go here at uh, the home page, this is the home page. And if we go to the carrier, we'll have the list of the jobs. So here I've automated that the number of the jobs is correctly shown. So if we have list 15 jobs, the number here will be shown 15 as well. So this is a real life scenario. I didn't want to do just clicking, so I just wanted to test this one. So we have some steps that user is on the main page, which is the main page of the project. Here, after we go to the main page, I make sure that the title is correct, which is the title of the window, the driver title. Then we have some action. So it's given, the keyword given, which is a precondition. We have an action, which is the keyword when, that we click the tab. It's the tab that I showed to you, career. Here is in German. And it's the validation that we do, or the check that the number of jobs is correctly shown. So here it will look a bit complex to you. The project is created with page object model. So we have some, it's a very basic one, but for beginners, it may be a little bit confusing. So uh, we have here, for example, global values that we save the information that is global, the URL of the page. Then we have the interaction related to Selenium. We have some actions. We have some assertions. Test connection, which is where we do the connection with the driver, and page object when we save all the stuff, web elements related to page, and also the step definitions. Oh, here we have also hooks that we execute before and after each test case, which is to launch the browser and to close the browser. So I am just executing this scenario to see if it passes or it fails. As you can see, the browser is open on its own. It has click career and the test case has passed, which means that it's correct. Just to make sure if it works, I will do, let's say, I am not using it in an automatic way, but I am saying that we don't have 15 jobs, which is the one in the side, but we have 14. I am executing it just to show what will be the result. Okay, as you can see, it fails and it says that number of jobs is not correctly shown because it was expected 15, found 14, which is the value that we put it at this this function. So basically this is a, let's say, structured page object model pattern framework that we use, and uh, with, of course, we create more test cases, more features files that are used to keep the test cases. And by using this way of writing test cases, it's easier even for people that are not technical to understand what this case is doing. Because if you remember from the first example that I showed to you, you won't see here any text. It's just, code. So it's very difficult to a person that, for example, a business analyst, to understand what's going on there. So if we go to our Cucumber file, it's very clear that because we have a scenario with a name, we have steps, so it's very clear what's the purpose of this test case and why we're doing it. Okay, I hope I was clear. We have now uh, 15 minutes for questions. You can use the chat and I will answer. Or if you have any question related to the presentation, any suggestion, you're welcome to.
Thank you, David, so much for the presentation. There was a lot to process there for sure. Yeah, I would like to open up the discussion for questions too, to give the participants a couple minutes. I actually had one or two questions myself. I wanted to ask you, what aspects do you particularly enjoy in test automation as a job, and why would you recommend it for someone to embark on this journey?
Great question. So, as I mentioned before, nowadays we do, in most of the cases, we do manual and automation testing together. So, it's very, you feel very good when all that effort that you were doing by doing the tests manually, now you do it by automation, so you have a lot of more time to, um, let's say, to focus on other things and to improve your processes. So that's the part I enjoy mostly. It's a very interesting career. Many years ago, it was a little bit underestimated, I would say, but nowadays the quality is very important because we have a lot of softwares, we have a lot of startups, but what makes the difference is the quality of the products, and that's what makes the difference. So as QA testers, you have a very important place on the quality of the product, which is not only the responsibility of the testers, but still you have something very important on your hands. So I would suggest for everyone as a career. For me, it's the best.
Thank you. Thank you. And you also mentioned certifications and like how important it is to have like good foundations. In your experience, how can one benefit from the different courses and certifications? And when people look for training, like what is it when or how should they choose this training? What do you think?
Yeah, it's better, especially when you don't have a lot of experience. I would suggest, to start and doing some maybe online courses on your own or ICQB certification starting from the foundation level. It's better to select, centers that are certified by ICQB board, such as Anagon, for example, that you can do, you can try to learn the basics. Although sometimes the STQB exams look a little bit stricty and to theory, I found them very helpful and you can learn a lot of things. And even for automation part, I did the automation exam 5 years after I started my experience, which is, kind of a lot. And still I learned a new thing about things I should do different on real life scenarios. So uh, it's it's a very good, let's say, start for people that want to learn the ICQB exams.
Cool, thank you. And in the meantime, we received a question, as I can see. If 100% test automation is a myth, what percentage is a realistic number, and what factors contribute to a higher percentage the most?
A very good question. At first, it's very, let's say, difficult to evaluate the coverage that you have on a product related to testing in general, because as I mentioned, it's even a testing principle, one of seven of them, that you cannot automate anything. You cannot test anything, which means that you don't know, let's say, how much you can test. So it's very difficult to find to find what's the coverage of your test. For test automation, let's say if we consider the coverage, let's say the percentage of manual test cases that we have. Usually we call 70 to 80% a good number, but still it depends a lot because testing it very depends on the context. So we cannot say for sure that 70 is good, 80 is good. Um, what we need to learn and to focus is that we have to, let's say, try to automate the test cases that waste our time more when we do the test case manually, try to automate the ones that are risky, so we have them automated. So it's not a lot about numbers, such as for quality of what we are automating. Related to the second part, which is what factors contribute to a higher percentage, it's well. It's about the effort, the first, how much you are working, how much time do you have to focus on the automation so you can do, you know, all the process of transiting from manual to automation testing. It's very important what's the strategy of test automation that you are following. So you have to create, as I mentioned, a framework which is which has, for example, patterns that help you while you are coding your tests, so you don't have to start everything from the beginning, so you can, fast your time. Also, there are other factors, such as, for example, trying, let's say, automating, as I mentioned before, the ones that are more time consuming, so you can focus more on automating other stuff. So it's all a process. It's very difficult, as I mentioned, to say a number, what's the coverage that you have, and it's more about the quality of the test cases that you have automated, how good are them, how much robust are them, so they don't have breaking points. They will, uh, if we can, of course, they will, pass for longer period of times, and just, just with with little change, they will fail. So that's the main idea on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Davis. We've received another question. What about Cucumber? Is it worth it? I personally find it very limiting when it comes to flexibility with the hard mapping to code. Refactoring is complex. State handling also. I've never seen the gherking used as it should be. Stakeholder contribution, POs, etc.
Yeah, very true, very true. I agree on that. Just we still use Cucumber, especially when we do, uh, let's say, webinars that are beginner friendly, because it's a very good way to understand the test case, what it's saying. It's true, actually, Magnus, that let's say we have failed the reason why Cucumber and BDD is actually used, because as I mentioned, the idea was that you collaborate with stakeholders, with people on business that are not technical, so they can, let's say, they can understand what our test case is doing. But this is something that in industry is, it's not that it's very practical. That's why um, that's why it's not, we're not using it, let's say, on the purpose that we are using it mostly as the keyword driven, that we use the keyword. We're not using functions, but we are using the keywords of what Cucumber calls steps, So maybe for that part, it's good to go. But in overall, I agree on Magnus' observation.
Great. I think we covered everything, but in case anybody has a question that they haven't asked, then feel free to do this after the webinar as well. You can reach out to me or Davis via email. Before we close, I would like to encourage everyone to check out our website for more resources. You can also subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on social media to stay connected. I really would like to thank everyone for the active participation, the replies, and the questions. You will all receive a follow-up email with the recording and a special thank you gift. So stay tuned. The recording will also be available on our YouTube channel if you want to come back to it. And I would like to thank you all once again, and Davis for the presentation. We look forward to seeing you at our future events, and have a great evening. Hopefully, there will be a follow-up to this webinar soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.